I came for my people, and my message from my kingdom, and you're my ambassador. Let them go. Let them go with a purpose. See, you'll never let go out of one thing without a purpose to go into the next thing. Tell them, I said, let them go, to come out so that they can go in to worship me. Sisters and brothers in modern day Christendom, this is the trial that he has to deal with. But here he goes. He said, Pharaoh will take you as a god. You'll be God to Pharaoh. And your prophet will be Aaron. Speak to Aaron and have Aaron speak to Pharaoh. They went in, and so it was. The battle was on. The pantheon of gods against Jehovah. And each god stepped into the ring. And God, Jehovah, would say, who that? Sisters and brothers, one by one, he overthrew every god they had. When you look at it, he overturned them by blood. Blood signifying the very thing that he created all nations out of one blood. So blood had to be first. Sisters and brothers, so he toppled the kingdom of the blood gods. Then he went from frogs to lice, from the lice to the flies to murrain and boils, from murrain and boils to hail and fire, from hail and fire to locusts and darkness. And once he covered, darkness was always the symbol of covering and hiding before you decapitated the head of those that you were about to literally destroy. He brought them all the way down to decapitation. After he defeated them, taking them one by one, slowly, God was training while he was destroying. He wanted Israel to see who he was. Before I bring you out, I want you to know my power. I know it's been 430 years, but I want you to know I'm still God. He flexed every bicep and tricep. He stood until they could say, oh yeah, he's God. And he's God all by himself. Somebody here knows who I'm talking about. Shout hallelujah. When nobody would help you, God. When nobody would deliver, God. When nobody rolled in the 12th hour of your midnight, God came in the nick of time. Somebody shout hallelujah. Shout glory. Sisters and brothers, so he took the time to make sure that they were taken together. God will just not give you an acronym of his name. He will give you the character behind the name. He will give you the persona, the essence, the beedness, the isness of who he is. So once you get the taste or the fragrance and the smell, once your spirit is marinated, once you feel his arms, once you see his power, then he's looking for you in appreciation to worship and adoration to serve and to adore him. There's absolutely no man that presents himself correctly to a woman and presents himself correctly that a woman will not respect. Absolutely, ever, never. She will, like Sarah, her foremother, say, my Lord. Sisters and brothers, it took time after he trained them who he was. He ushered them out. They went on out into the wilderness in a mixed crowd of people because he had toppled, smashed, vanquished, destroyed Egypt. So he had upset all their gods, their worship, their churches had emptied out, their temples were stagnant, their memberships went down to zero. They stopped sacrificing, their pylons were high. They just went on and said, forget it. They went on and served and literally put each one of their gods in sarcophagus and just set them on a pylon and set them on fire. Egypt backed up and told Pharaoh, if you don't let them go, we will all be dead men and dead women in our beds. Let these people go and worship their God. Sisters and brothers, they let them go, open those iron gates, and those people were walking out barefoot. But before they left, God said, borrow everything around you. They took gold, silver, they took everything with them. They came in and they went out billionaires, trillionaires, walking, grandmama walking, great-grandma, grandpa, chickens, goats, everything. They took child, they took everything. I need that. I'm going to need that vase to worship the Lord. I'm going to need that. He said, ask them for me. He said, tell the women to ask, but tell the men just to stand there in presentation. They were so trembling about their God. They said, I'm going to need that to worship God. I need give me 4 more cows. Give me 3 more heifers. I need 6 more goats to worship. Now, if I really want to worship, I need 6 more doves. Give me 20 more chickens. I'm going to need that to worship the Lord. Give me that piece of cloth. Give me that silk. Give me that rayon. Give me that nylon. Give me that. I need that St. John to worship God. Come on, I got to build God a temple. Shout hallelujah. Is there somebody in here that still love him? Shout glory. Sisters and brothers, they went out with great victory and power. And as they went out knowing, one, by experience, by fragrance, by essence, and by name, who God was. 1491 BC, they marched out. They are now entering into their promise experience. The promise has been stated to all of you for the 21st century church. Now, they went out of their wilderness, and as they went out in their wilderness experience, sisters and brothers, now watch, they're on their way. As they go on their way, Moses is getting closer and closer to God. The experience of this pastor leading almost 5-some million people. The experience is massive. He needs direction from God. So as he's getting closer and closer to God, he's spending more time with him. He needs instruction on the vision. So God is telling him things. He's up in the mountain 40 days. He's not coming down. God writes on a tablet. He writes inside and out, but this time God writes it with his own hand. He's coming down the mountain, and for the 40 days lost, they have turned from the essence, the smell, the taste, the experience of who God is and what he has done over time for them. They have turned to another appetite and taste. They have returned back to their culture. See, you can come out of sin, but you got to know how to not return back to your culture. Because there is an absence of pastor, because you don't see First Lady and our senior elder, because things don't seem at the top like you may want them to be, you don't return back to the culture. You don't go back to what God drug you out of. You don't go back to the crack house. You don't go back to cocaine because you had a bad experience and things, but nobody was in place to get your phone call, and this one wasn't there to lay hands on you. You don't revert back to an old culture when you've already tasted of his goodness. It's still on your tongue. When you've heard his voice for yourself, it's still in your spiritual ear. When you have felt him lay his hands on you, when he has filled you with the essence of himself, until you have spoken with other tongues as the Spirit of God give utterance. What do you mean going back to your culture when it was him that brought you out into this marvelous light and washed away your sin? They made a calf and put it up in God's face. The very thing that he vanquished in the pantheon of gods. They took a defeated thing. When you go back on God, you flaunt a defeated thing.